Monday, everybody, and welcome back to the Couchside Judges. I'm Scott Fontana. Follow me on Twitter at Scott_Fontana.
And I'm Dan Urban. Follow me at the Dan Urban. Follow the podcast at Couchside Judges and subscribe to us wherever you listen.
Especially on YouTube. Make sure you get a subscription to our YouTube channel.
And like it.
And like it.
And as always, we talk judging MMA, so make sure you read the scoring criteria.
What do you think? I moved away from the 5-star review thing.
I think we got as many 5 stars as we can.
I think we milked as many 5-star reviews as we're going to get out of people, and I think we probably got like 3, but I don't think we got any less than 5-star reviews.
Yeah, we're not looking for any either, so...
Yeah, no. I don't know if I made it clear enough in every other episode for the last, 2 years. 5-star review. Just 5.
Yeah, that's
you go 4. Why don't you go off?
How do you get to 4?
Gosh,
I don't even...
Who would do that? That's like leaving a 4-star review for your Uber driver. It doesn't help them. You're just dinging them for little stuff. Give them, if they were bad, give them a 1. If they were not bad, give them a 5.
It's just pass or fail.
Yeah, it really should just be that. It should be because what was it? Netflix a few years back. We're talking about streaming services before we got on here. Netflix a few years back, they switched over from used to be a 5-star system to thumbs up, thumbs down. And then sometime in the last year, they added an extra double thumbs up or something.
One of the streaming services posts Rotten Tomato scores if it's a passing score.
Only if?
Only if it's a passing score.
Do you know which one it is?
I want to say Peacock.
Okay.
I think Peacock.
So if it's bad.
If it's bad, then you don't get a Rotten Tomato score.
So if you don't see the score, just know it wasn't good. I'm on to you, Peacock.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm trying to get people to, find their way over to our YouTube channel a little bit. We got a lot of, interactions, listens, downloads, whatever you would call it, recently on an episode, at least a lot for us and our modest following. So yeah, if we can grow the YouTube channel a little bit, I think that would probably be for the best. Help probably help us. If you like this show, then that would definitely help us.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the one. If we get to 1,000 subscribers, we have monetization opportunities.
We're almost there.
So
we're
we're
almost at 35.
Yeah.
So we're getting really close to money.
Yeah. We're not that far off.
Dan and I may seem rich. We live a hoity-toity lifestyle, but it's all a ruse. It's all a ruse. Fights. Should we talk about fights?
Some good ones.
We can talk about fights.
Yeah.
Nah, let's not. Good night, everybody.
Yankees won today.
You mean Saturday?
Yeah.
Yeah. This show's a Monday show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Now we got to get to the fight that I mean, finally, Israel Adesanya was able to get past the beast. He climbed the mountain. All the other phrases that have to do with getting the job done finally after all this time. Beating Alex Pereira. Awesome performance. I mean, it wasn't like he was thoroughly beating him or anything like that, but just the fact that he was able to put the stamp on it that he just couldn't do any other time was really impressive.
Yeah. And he said he was playing a little rope-a-dope there.
Yeah, you can say what you're saying.
I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that, but it worked out.
It's easy enough to say. Maybe there's a portion of it that was, but also, he didn't want his leg to get jacked up throughout the first 10 minutes of the fight.
Well, no, I was specifically talking about the final sequence.
No, I understand that, but all of this is playing into it. How much can you really play possum when your leg isn't working as well?
It wasn't. Well, was it not working?
He was moving fine, but it's hurting. Is it moving optimally?
I don't know.
Then it's not working as well.
I don't know. Yeah. He seemed normal to me.
I'm sure, but it hurts.
Yeah,
he's human. But that was impressive. And I said this before the fight, the fact that this fight here, even though we'd seen the winner, the same man winning the first 3 fights, it was still compelling because you always thought, even if you didn't think, okay, Israel is going to knock him out this time, you always feel like it's going to be competitive between these two.
Well, yeah, the one that went to decision in kickboxing, people say should have went to Izzy.
I watched that fight. I'm not a kickboxing scoring expert, but it was certainly close enough. I could see why people would say that.
The other one, they say Izzy was handling him up until he got knocked out.
That's at least partially true.
And then MMA one, Izzy was ahead.
He was.
And then got knocked out.
Yeah.
And some people called it a controversial stoppage. He didn't really.
I don't think it was a controversial stoppage. I think it was a fine stoppage.
Yeah, me too.
Not the most fine stoppage you could like. It would be the one you would be like, all right, here's Exhibit A of how to do the best stoppage possible in MMA. But like, it was good. It was good. It was fine. And there shouldn't be any argument with that one.
This one, he just flattened them.
And he actually won the first round.
Izzy did.
Izzy did, yeah.
Yeah.
But I scored it the other way. I thought that the leg kicks that Pereira was landing were heavier and more impactful. Okay. So I ended up going that way. I don't know how you felt about that round, but
I don't remember scoring it. I was hanging out with Dan Tom and Anthony Walker.
Is that right?
Their, I wasn't on it, but I was in the chat room.
Okay.
On Dan Tom's alternate commentary for pay-per-view.
I saw they were doing that.
So I was hanging out with
both
them.
Of those individuals. How was it?
It was fun.
Yeah.
It was a good watch.
What were they? What was alternate about their commentary?
It wasn't Rogan, DC, or Anik.
Oh, okay.
It was them commentating.
So
giving their take on what's going on.
But the reason I don't like that is because there's not nearly enough. Oh, he hurt him. He's hurt. Just not nearly enough of that. You can't. No one can make up for the amount of that you get with Joe Rogan. Oh man. But yeah, that was wild. And now in the aftermath, we have Dana White talking about how he doesn't really want to have the trilogy fight, which I had thought made a lot of sense. It certainly seemed to be the most logical thing to do next. You have these guys fight again for the third time in MMA, fifth time across combat sports. I think it makes all the sense in the world, and that doesn't sound like what Dana wants. Adesanya was already saying, no, I don't. I'm going to make him walk the hard road. I'm going to make him earn the shot back. Dana was saying he wants Pereira to go to 205. It's not that I dislike the idea of him going to 205, but realistically, I would rather see him. Why are we saying no to this trilogy fight?
I don't know why we're saying no to it. I mean, I understand why they rushed to it because of the story. Maybe they're saying, no, now the story's over. Now Pereira go really earn it back now. Which honestly, I don't know if he ever does.
Well, the story is only over if the UFC believes it's Adesanya's story and not Pereira's story. That Pereira is just a character in the Adesanya story that they're trying to tell.
Which is what it is.
I mean, I guess in some ways, yeah, they have a lot more money invested in Adesanya. Sure, they want him to, in theory, would want someone they're paying more to succeed.
Yeah, Pereira's not seeing that title if it's not immediate. I don't think he's getting back there. So,
well, if he goes to 205, like Dana is suggesting, and who knows if that's
I think he gets slaughtered.
Who knows if that's what he has? Who would he fight? That's the real question. Is like because he is inarguably more technical than anyone else at 205 pounds in the UFC, but everyone else there, it's just a little harder than everybody else at middleweight, so it just changes things.
I think if it's for him, he's got to do it now and go to 205. Has that even been mentioned by Pereira?
I think he had interest in fighting Jamal Hill. He had suggested, hey, if while Yuri's out, how about we fight?
Oh, okay.
This was back in like February. So yeah, he's certainly keen. I mean, he was keen on getting a second belt. That obviously, yeah. But I don't know that he's necessarily saying, oh, I would rather go to 205.
I mean, Jan might take his hat off. Uncle Live might take his hat off.
I don't know about that. I mean, he might take their heads off too.
Nah, I don't see it.
I'd be more concerned about someone like Ankalaev just being able to out wrestle him and potentially pound him out on the ground too.
That too.
That's where I'd be.
He'd probably beat Anthony Smith.
I think there are very interesting matchups for him at 205, but I really still believe he should be fighting at 85, and I don't think it's smart business to say, well, we don't really have interest in this trilogy fight that everyone else is probably going to want interest in, and that we may or may not even have again if we're to believe what you think. That he may not even get the chance to earn it again.
I don't think he's going to get the chance to earn it if he doesn't get it right away.
Do it now. Do it now. Right? Am I wrong here?
But that's what it comes down to. Do they believe they have that story still? No.
I don't know. I don't think so. I think it's fascinating. I think they should do it, but I guess they have their own plans and they think they know better, so that is what it is, right?
Right, but you said something about Izzy not wanting that fight either.
No, he doesn't. But also Leon Edwards didn't want to fight Colby Covington next, and sure sounds like he doesn't get a choice in that matter either.
Yeah, but welterweight is so much different than middleweight.
You're right. There are a lot more options there, and yet apparently there's none. Whereas at middleweight, there's no options, but apparently there's others.
No, that's not fair. There's 5 options, and you have a good argument for all of them.
All right, what are they?
So Colby, good argument.
Oh, you're talking about welterweight.
Yeah. Hamzat.
Yes, I'm saying there's plenty of options down there.
Gilbert. Maybe even Shavkat.
But I don't disagree. I'm talking about a middleweight. There's like no other options.
There's no other options.
Yeah.
No.
I think we're saying. I think you thought I was saying something different.
I do.
We're actually saying the same thing.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah. That's where I got confused.
Yeah.
I'm like, no. Because, it doesn't make sense to me that we have to be locked into Colby Covington as the only option at 170, even though there are plenty other ones. Whereas up at 185, we're saying, no, we don't like the only option. Let's make other options that don't exist.
Gotcha.
And that doesn't make any sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, realistically, who should fight Israel now? Because you've got Robert Whittaker.
No, Pereira's the only one that makes sense.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But like, if we're not doing that, where are we going? It can't be Robert Whittaker right now. He didn't do enough to get back to that point again. And I love Bobby Knuckles. I think he's one of the best middleweights that we've had in a long time. But he's lost 2 to Israel, and the last one I know people thought was close. It was competitive, but I don't know that it was close.
Well, he's beaten everyone in the top 6, I think, already.
I mean,
so there would be rematches.
You got Adesanya is making allusions to the fact that he would like to fight that guy from South Africa, which is Dricus du Plessis. They have the beef over comments du Plessis had about being like the only real African on the UFC roster or something like that. Which that's a slippery slope.
I don't know. The middleweight is a wreck.
And it's exactly why they need to have this fight. And I don't know what the heck they think you're going to be doing.
Like Sean Strickland doesn't deserve it.
The only thing that will make sense, and I think you'll actually agree with me, is it's got to be Hamzat.
Oh yeah, he's going up to 85.
He's really the only one that actually does make some sense. And he hasn't won a fight at middleweight in a long time. So like he still realistically probably should have another fight there.
I keep forgetting that he is now middleweight.
He's
going to be a middleweight.
I think he still has designs on 170. Just that's the way I kind of read the situation. I don't think that's realistic anymore. But yeah, I mean he's really the only one that you could actually say, okay, maybe there's some interest in that fight. Because yeah, you mentioned Sean Strickland. It's not like Sean Strickland's somebody we're really desiring to have that fight either.
No, but I think it's the most interesting of people he hasn't fought already.
I guess. I mean, again, I would actually even be more interested in Hamzat. Without him having another middleweight fight. I would rather him have that, and I would still be like, okay, fine. He can still get the next shot.
I'd be very interested in Hamzat getting that shot. Because I think he might win.
Yeah, that possibly certainly exists. It does intrigue from a competitive standpoint. So.
Like I kind of expect if they do the du Plessis and Adesanya, that's just a gift to du Plessis and
I imagine
a showcase for Adesanya.
Yeah, I don't think he's getting that next.
So.
I think that was just kind of like him saying, hey, this is somebody... Because Adesanya doesn't like to kind of pick out these guys often. I think he sometimes does, but like he's not looking deep down and like willing to give you the names that often.
I mean, do you think the Marino Figueiredo saga has soured them from doing like immediate trilogies?
No, I don't think so.
No.
They decided to do that on their own. No one told them to do it.
Yeah.
That was their own choice.
But this one makes more sense.
I'm looking at the middleweight rankings now, by the way, and these are as of Saturday night, so nothing updated in the aftermath of the events here. But I mean, when you look at it, outside of Pereira, which is again I think we agree is the only one that really makes sense, it's a bunch of guys that Adesanya's beaten before. It's Strickland, and he's one spot behind Dricus du Plessis. And after that, you have to go a lot farther down to find someone coming off of a win who hasn't fought Adesanya. So
Kelvin's got to win.
Literally, well, yeah.
But they had a great fight.
He's still farther down. I don't think we can do that right now. Let's not.
That was a great fight the first time.
It was. It's not going to happen next. So these are your own. I'm going to say these are the only realistic options as far as names at middleweight.
But didn't Raging Al get a title shot as the 15 contender?
That was a very different thing, sir. Stop that. You know what you're doing. I know what you're doing too. You cut it out. Now we've the only realistic options are du Plessis, Sean Strickland, and Hamzat. If you're not going to do Pereira.
Yeah, that's a weird.
And I don't know that anyone's beaten down the door for any of these fights. I mean, maybe Hamzat's, again, he's the most interesting of them, right? I don't want to dwell too deep on it. We've probably given this too much time than we needed. But, I mean, do you have any more closing thoughts, I guess, in the ideas?
No, I mean, Vettori beating Dolidze doesn't give him the next shot either.
All right, I tell you what. Before we move on to the next topic, rank the names in order that you would rather have them fight Izzy next. Like, absolutely next. It's not Pereira, but du Plessis, Strickland, and Hamzat.
Hamzat 1.
Mm-hmm. Who's 2?
du Plessis.
Okay.
Just because it's newer.
Yeah.
And then Strickland 3.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, I would go that. I would go that order too. That's about it. And at that point, you're after that point, you're kind of looking at like Brendan Allen, which okay, fine, but Brendan Allen probably
Just had a good
little
win
more work
over Andre Muniz, but yeah, he's got more work to do.
to do. I mean, that's not enough. I thought Muniz was a lot closer than he was, and clearly he wasn't. So yeah, I don't think
Middleweight's
so.
a nightmare.
It is. So just do Pereira again. It's stupid. Anyway, we got to move on to just touch upon real quickly the welterweight situation, because obviously we had Gilbert Burns beating Jorge Masvidal in a fight that really was not as competitive. I don't think a lot of people thought it would be super competitive. It kind of played out in a lot of ways that I think a lot of people expected.
I didn't expect Burns to stand as long as he did.
I'm not surprised he did. I guess I'm also somewhat surprised, but also I think Burns feels like he's a very well-rounded fighter.
Which he is.
Yeah, I mean, he showed that as well. He was, if not competitive, if not merely competitive, he was actually better than Masvidal in the stand-up, because Masvidal, you think he even said it, he doesn't really feel it anymore. Obviously, he retired after the fight. Two quick questions before we kind of get on. Where is Gilbert Burns in the welterweight title queue, if it's up to you? Because it sounds like he's kind of basically volunteered himself to be the backup, which in theory puts him next in line for the title whenever it's Leon Edwards and Colby Covington.
Yeah.
But would you put him there? Would you say he's number 2 in the queue to Colby?
Okay, so Colby's next shot, then I would say Bilal, then I would say Gilbert.
Okay. I think I would probably do that too. I mean, realistically, you know how I feel. I would put Colby down. We already had that conversation. We don't have to have it again. But yeah, I think if that's where we're at, this is where I'm putting him too. I think Burns, unfortunately, does have to wait a little bit behind Bilal.
Yeah, kind of silly. We're going to have to wait until July for this fight.
Yeah.
With Colby and Leon.
Well, I mean, you know, it's kind of how these things go.
Yeah, just fight. Next week.
It's just the way the UFC does things, man.
And then I don't know. I don't know when Ramadan ends.
It is a month long. I can't remember exactly what day it started. It was late March.
But I don't expect to hear an announcement for Bilal's next fight until the end of that.
Well, he's fighting Shavkat next.
Oh, they made that.
Oh, it doesn't sound like that's like done deal, but like it sounds like that's what Dana wants, and those things tend to happen.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm thinking they probably won't announce that until after Ramadan.
It seems like maybe, but I'm not actually. I don't know for certain if Shavkat is Muslim as well. So in theory, he would also be observing Ramadan. But yeah, Bilal Muhammad is getting the short shrift here, and it sucks. But
here's the thing: you have a good problem at welterweight because you have a ton of options.
Yeah.
Middleweight, you have nothing.
Yeah. We don't need to rehash that. I think we've beaten that one into the ground, but
it's never so clear what you're supposed to do, and then they're like talking themselves into making a big decision.
Yeah, that's kind of dumb. It's super, super dumb. Jorge Masvidal, hung him up. Any thoughts on him, his career, whatever?
Journeyman turned superstar because of one awesome knockout, basically, and then getting called out by Nate Diaz really set him off, probably. Won the BMF belt in the least BMF way possible. He was fun to watch. I mean, I don't expect him getting a Hall of Fame nod.
Well, the UFC Hall of Fame does work a little differently.
Just don't, all right, cool, man.
I'm not advocating for it.
Like,
just point it out.
Good on Jorge. Like, it's Journeyman who outkicked his coverage, I guess. Like, because he just moved up due to popularity, I think, and such a spectacular knockout of Ben. So
Ben Askren.
Yeah.
Couldn't remember his name.
No.
That was a Ben. Ben somebody.
5 seconds because he was doing the most predictable starts of that fight. Whatever. I mean, I have nothing against Jorge Masvidal. He was fun to watch.
I'll just repeat what I tweeted about Masvidal, which is, without a doubt, Jorge Masvidal overachieved in this sport. Even 4 years ago, it was barely conceivable he'd get to this point where he is genuinely celebrated on his way out of the octagon.
Sure.
I think that's fair.
That's a fair one.
Yeah.
He was a journeyman.
He really was. I used to call him a journeyman in debates I would have with a friend, and I still believe he was a journeyman. I think he was able to just relay or I guess make he made the most out of the opportunities that he got from having a really strong year in 2019. And good for him. He's bettered his life.
There you go.
He's made a lot of money. He's set himself up that he has this promotion now that seems like it had at least a reasonably successful event.
Wonder how much money he will keep after this lawsuit.
You just never know. There's a lot of legality going on.
Also, MMA retirements.
Yeah, there's that.
So,
but no, I mean, good on him.
Yeah, good.
Anyway, that was it for topics and stuff. Obviously, we kind of went a little longer, I think, on the middleweight debate than probably either of us really thought we would. But judging breakdown. Now, I should point out, we did intend on potentially talking about PFL. We're not really going to do a whole lot of PFL here, almost none of it, to be perfectly honest. But I will point out that it had its fights on Friday, and 13 out of 17 of the judges were judged rounds were unanimous, I should say, in Nevada. That's a 76.5%.
I also want to point out one thing about PFL. Their AI scoreboard was the only one who was wrong on one of the fights. I think it was the main event, Pacheco and
yes, it was. They were fully the AI, formerly FPR, a fighter performance rating, was it was very convinced that Julia Budd had won that fight, but everyone who watched that fight knew Julia Budd had not won that fight. Yeah. So
robots are not taking over anytime soon.
The machines are not coming for us, at least not from an MMA standpoint. They may take over the world in other ways, but by then, they'll still be relying on humans to judge the fights.
Can you imagine all the people who are like, put the robots in. We just need these robot scores, and then something like that happens where everyone watches the fight. They know the one person wins, and then they're like, but the robot says otherwise. They'd lose their minds.
Gotta trust the robots. I'm not gonna take over your world.
And did they change it from computer score last week to AI score this week?
No. They had the previous week. They had been calling it like the AI computerized scoring.
Oh, okay.
They've come up with different words for it. I think they're just trying to capitalize on the fact that people are talking about AI right now.
Oh, okay.
So they're just mixing it in, and I think they've realized that people thought FPR was a stupid word, so they changed it because it is stupid acronym.
It's dumb,
and no one knows how it works. We just know it doesn't work well
at all.
But anyway, yes, 13 out of 17 unanimous rounds. Solid work there in Nevada. One of those was an 8-9 split. We're not going to talk about the 4 split rounds, not in detail, but I did want to bring up actually real quick before we get back to UFC, Dan. In the fight between Aspen Ladd and Elena Kolesnik, which Kolesnik won, majority decision, came down to round 3 being a potential, was it a 10-8 to make it a draw? On Mike Bell's card, it ended up being that. On judges Adeline Bird and Janichiro Camijo, they only had a 10-9 for Aspen Ladd, who had lost those first 2 rounds. Now, I don't want to get into the scoring deeply, because I think it's realistically, it could kind of go either way. I'm okay with it kind of going either way. But the thought that I had, and this was something that I've kind of toyed with while watching rounds sometimes, is if Aspen Ladd wasn't trying to go for the submissions, which were being defended pretty well by Elena Kolesnik, and she was sticking more to mixing in those big punches, which she was actually landing and were hurting Elena Kolesnik, which is really the only reason you'd start thinking about that as a potential 10-8. If she started leaning on that more, I think she gets a 10-8. I think she salvages a draw.
I agree.
And I think it was a poor strategic choice there. And it's one that I expect almost every fighter and every corner would think to do, except for the ones that, maybe they're just leaning on, maybe their skill sheets or their skill traits lean toward one way or the other, right?
Yeah, well, Damian Maia's never going to do that.
So. Right. Or, somebody who doesn't have as much inclination to go for a sub is just going to punch you, know? But like, if you have a mixed skill set and you might go one or the other, like, I feel like a lot of people are like, well, I have the back, I'm going to go for the choke. But from there, realistically, if it's being defended as well as it is, and it is being defended well enough, Kolesnik is not offering a ton of openings. It feels like a low percentage play. And the higher percentage play, if you're trying to go all out and try to salvage not losing, you got to beat her down with your hands, because it was sort of working. And I wish a lot of fighters really kind of thought about that kind of thing, and corners thought about that kind of thing, and really strategized around the way judging works.
You get more immediate impact when you go with striking than you do grappling.
It's just the way judging works. Like they don't give, and it's not the judges themselves, it's the criteria. It really just doesn't give as much favorability to, especially going for submissions, especially if you're trying to finish a 10-8 round. Like, I had the thought, to kind of segue over a little bit to the UFC again, I had the thought watching, and I told you about this round too, Jacqueline Amarim in the first fight of the UFC on Saturday night. I had that as a 10-8 because she went for a couple.
I thought she had three rear naked chokes.
Was it 3? I thought it was only 2 that were like really good.
Maybe I think all 3 were under the chin, and there, I just thought they were defended well.
Fair enough. Yeah. I mean, I feel like when you get a situation like that, where it's like, man, This is not someone who's just fiddling around and trying to hold position. Like, she's got the position and she's going for the chokes and they're under. I mean, at what point do we start kind of giving that weight? But the criteria doesn't really outline distinctly well what you're supposed to do with that type of offense. Because that choke, if it's in for a few seconds, but then it's released, it's not doing a ton to diminish your opponent, right? It's not necessarily effective offense in terms of accumulating, stuff to end the fight. It's really, it almost got to something where it could have ended the fight, but it didn't, it's not the same as a punch.
Right. It's like what we hear all the time. I'd rather almost be sub 10 times than almost be knocked out once.
Yeah, exactly. But I think we need something in the criteria language that kind of gives a little bit of power, or at least just clarity to what you're supposed to do in those situations as far as scoring. Because if you don't have it in there, you're going to have a lot of fighters who could say, well, I don't know what the heck that is,
This brings us back to that 10-7 show we did.
Yeah.
You need to find a way to define damage from grappling.
Yeah.
Because or else a round like Bryce Mitchell versus Charles Rosa, that was a total outclassing.
Yeah.
And you can't get to a 10-7 because there's no damage.
And like, if that's the way it is, fine. Just it should just be codified in such a way. But if they codify that, and if that's really what it is, you're going to get a lot of grappling people that are really mad at that. So that kind of has to be accepted.
Grappling's already diminished. Some people want to diminish it even further. I won't go into it for a third week in a row. But that guy owns a little corner of my brain.
Yeah, unfortunately. He definitely has rent in your head.
So I think, you gotta try to find a way to, like you said, codify it.
Yeah, I would like to see that too. But yeah, we can get back to the traditional contested rounds, which again, we're going to specifically do the UFC ones. We are more or less skipping over the PFL than what we kind of just spoke about. Oh, we should point out real quick though, in that particular round, the Aspen Ladd round, something a little weird
Yes, I was going to mention.
I almost forgot about that.
The clacker goes off at the 10-second mark, and then the bell to end the round never goes off for
just takes a little while.
I think they said 12 seconds after the zeros.
I didn't go back and count it. I didn't see anybody who
I'm just trusting.
I remembered hearing that.
I'm just trusting the commentary on that. But during that time,
it was definitely longer than 10 seconds. Let's put it that way.
That's when the choke was the tightest.
Yeah.
Can you imagine she tapped?
Yeah, that would be an issue.
Would that be a viable?
I think that would absolutely be something where you would have, if there was an appeal. That's what I'm saying. I feel like that has to be something that gets overturned. Definitely. Unless it's something they can figure out night of.
Okay.
If they can manage to figure that out the night of and just do the right thing and say, no, unfortunately, the round. And I have no idea. But I know we're aware of the fact that sometimes officiating kind of gets fudged a little bit just to make sure the right thing happens. There's precedent for that in mixed martial arts in officiating of the sport. But yeah, so let's put PFL to bed here, other than if we have any favorite finishes and stuff. Let's go back to UFC. There were 25 rounds in all. 18 of them were unanimous, so 72%. That's smack dab on average, basically. One of them was an 8-9 split. We will get to all 7 of these contested rounds, and we're going to start with one of the 2 split decisions, the one that had 2 rounds that judges were not on the same page for. So let's go over to the prelims with Lupita Godinez gotten the win over Cynthia Calvillo, 30-27, 29-28, and 29-28 the other way. So naturally we have 2 rounds here. Rounds 2 and 3. What happened in round 2, my friend?
I hate the strawweight division from a scoring standpoint. From just a strictly judging standpoint, nothing against the fighters. It's just a division that is very tough to score. Obviously, because they're smaller, their impact is lower. So deciphering the more immediately impactful strikes, there's a much smaller difference between a 100% shot versus a 50% shot. It's really a slim margin there to decipher that.
Sure. No,
especially
I don't think that's
TV.
Arguable. I think that's at least true,
Especially on TV.
And I mean, if you're there, that goes for the men's weights too. I mean, the lower you go in the men's weights, the same thing applies. It's really just a weight thing, not a gender thing.
With that said, to make it even more difficult of a round, this was quite the high output round. I thought Calvillo was landing some good ones early. Thought she did well with the body kicks. Not to mention, also, I want to start. This round had a gigantic graphic over the beginning of it, and it was shot from 600 yards away, zooming into the action. So we missed like the first 10 seconds. It looked like Calvillo landed a spinning kick to the body. Not really sure.
There were 34 strikes landed in those 10 seconds. I don't know if you knew that.
I would have believed it because this is super high output.
I magnified.
Like I said, I thought Calvillo did well to the body with those kicks. A couple good shots upstairs that you could tell were decent ones. But as the round went on, I thought Lupi was the one who countered well, landed some bigger impact shots, especially her left hand. The eye of Calvillo is swelling. Lupi is bleeding a bit from the nose, but I think Lupi by a slim margin, 10-9.
Yeah, I also went that way too. I think it's a very close. I think that basically these last two rounds that we're going to talk about are pretty close. But I thought this one makes sense as probably even more of a swing round. I think
Okay.
than the other round that we're going to talk about in a little bit too. Which is, I mean, we can just kind of go right into it. Other than the fact that the judges who scored it the same way as you and me, Eliseo Rodriguez, a local Florida judge, and Dave Torelli, a local New Jersey judge, and local to us anyway. They were the ones who had it for Godinez. It was Eric Colon, a local New Jersey judge who calls food the wrong thing, I'm sure, because he's in South Jersey.
Communist state of South Jersey.
You know, I had a Taylor ham, egg, and cheese sandwich on a bagel this week because I was thinking about our show, and I was like, man, I haven't had one of those in a while.
I haven't had one in a long time.
You should get one this week.
Wow.
Do it.
For Easter tomorrow.
Yeah, all right, there you go.
Or Easter yesterday.
Easter yesterday.
Sorry.
Yeah. But yeah, what about round 3?
Round 3, another super close round. Same as round 2, just a ton of strikes that they're throwing. Calvillo is just throwing punch after punch after punch. It's absurd. I do think they're both landing pretty good. Lupi did land some strong ones to the head. Calvillo had some good ones to the face. And the nose is starting to bust up a bit more in this round, I thought. Eileen Calvillo, I thought it was very close. Tough fight to score. I feel bad for the judges that had to score it.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I think the nose stuff is something that carried over from the previous round.
But now it's more present.
Yeah, I think, and that's why I think because it did get a little bit worse, I think it made it a lot easier for me to go round 3 for Calvillo here than in round 2 where I was just like, man, what do I do with that? You know, because it does look like she's missing a lot. But also, her nose isn't bleeding because of the air that whiffed by. It got hit. So
although
some of this stuff is landing, you know?
One time on an airplane, my nose started bleeding out of nowhere.
Sure.
I wasn't
These
punched.
things happen. I remember
saying.
Kids on the block whose nose would bleed too. You know, I have kids now, and once in a while we see, oh, yeah, there's a kid who's got a bloody nose. And it's like, well, how did it happen? It's like, I don't know. There's just they have a dry nose. That is not what happens, sir. They're in Miami.
Yeah.
That's not what happens.
Yeah. I was coming home from Vegas, so it was dry.
Like that. Yeah, exactly. Now we're using science to put this together, and we're finding solutions, and I think we know. But yeah, no, this was
blunt force.
This was blunt force. Absolutely good description of it. Yeah, I had Calvillo here. I felt a little easier going Calvillo here than I did Godinez in the previous round. But they're both close rounds. Like, don't get me wrong. Yeah, this is one of those strawweight fights like you described. It's very tough to score. There's an inordinate amount of split decisions at strawweight, I think, for a reason. I should get the numbers on how often there's a strawweight split decision compared to other divisions. Should go back. Usually I focus on the micro stuff, you know, the trees. Sometimes I miss the forest. I look at the rounds. I don't look at the decisions as much. So, yeah. But, yeah, so you and I were in agreement with the majority for Calvillo. Judges Colon and Rodriguez had it the same as us. It was Dave Torelli who was on his own. But again, both these rounds really could go either way reasonably, and I don't think anyone should get mad. I know Angela Hill was kind of like, I don't know about the scoring of this fight, but then Angela Hill's always in these split decisions too. And
she's always never feels good about scoring.
No, and hey, look, if you've been burned as many times as she has, like, it's kind of hard to falter. It just is. Like, even if we can make sense of the scoring, it's like, you know what, at some point it's just like, what the hell?
But it's also like you're watching the fight, you know it's super close.
Sure.
So
no, I don't disagree. But it is what it is, right? We do have another split decision. Hey, what weight class is this in, sir?
Oh, strawweight.
It is in strawweight, yeah. I think this is a better fight in general. It was a more enjoyable fight. Luana Pinheiro got the win this time over Michelle Waterson-Gomez. It was a split decision, like we said. 29-28 all around. Much simpler, more natural split decision here. It was basically just round 2 is our, deciding round. So what's happening here?
Unlike the previous strawweight fight, these two swung like they were heavyweights. They actually tried to kill
Maybe
each
not
other. I thought.
heavyweights, but yeah.
All right, maybe bantamweights.
All right. That's
They
fine.
swung but you could tell that they were putting some oomph on these punches.
Sure.
Pinheiro invested in the leg kicks early. I thought these were solid. Waters was landing a good solid front kick to the face. I think throughout the round, Pinheiro was landing heavier. It's close. Waterson has a nice elbow outside of a clinch, I believe. Couple combos upstairs, but I think Pinheiro was getting better reactions, shutting down Waterson, making her reset every time she got touched. They would throw strikes at the same time, and it felt like Pinheiro was winning these exchanges. Close round. Close enough anyway. But I'm 10-9 Pinheiro.
There's nothing I could say to enhance what you just said. I think you did a good job there. So I am with you. I had the same score for basically the same rationale. Judges Eliseo Rodriguez once again with Chris Lee, another traveling but also local judge. They were on the same page as us. It was Eric Colon once again as the out judge here, had it for Waterson Gomez.
All right.
Not crazy. Not at all.
Yeah.
Just another close strawweight fight. I went to the cards again. Man, oh man. One day we're going to do a show on just strawweight fights. We don't have to do like the rounds and everything. We got to kind of discuss like data and things like that. I think that would be interesting.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't want to drive you nuts. I feel like you'd probably quit the show if I just made you watch a bunch of split decision fights.
Like Eric
between
Colon was on
strawweights.
all three of these fights. Right?
Oh yeah, I don't know. I don't know what he did to the
Like-
Florida Commission to get that, but
Well, no, they just say you're a good judge. We want you on the toughest to score.
I mean, that's one way to look at it. But what if it's punitive?
Well, let's hope
Like,
not.
well, listen, you didn't. I don't know. You didn't buy us a Taylor ham and egg and cheese sandwich, so now you're gonna have to score all these tough fights. Good
Yeah.
luck to you, sir. Yeah, could be that. I don't know. Let's move on though we'll go back to Gilbert Burns and Jorge Masvidal here though, because there was a
Yeah.
split round here. It was a unanimous decision though, 30-27 twice and a 29-28. Round one was the only round in which Masvidal got even a share of the round, and well, what happens?
Yeah, I suspected this one was going to be a split if there was one.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a low output round. They both fought round one like this was a 5-round fight. Didn't really make that sense to me. It made sense on the Masvidal's end because he was spent by round three. I thought Burns
Paced
lands
himself a little bit, you're saying?
Yeah, Masvidal landed some good kicks to the leg. He really went there often when he actually did strike, or when anyone threw a strike, really. Burns he landed like a body kick and a couple leg kicks of his own, but I thought it was Masvidal definitely landing heavier. He had a couple good ones to the leg. He's just not going anywhere else that are landing. I think the difference is really that final minute. Burns starts landing pretty good to the head a couple times, snapping the head back, and then he gets that takedown straight to side control and lets the hammer fists go. I don't think that many hammer fists actually get through, but I think a couple did, and that's enough to sway it, I think. 10-9 Burns.
I think it definitely made it a lot more clear for me who won that round. Because the late takedown. Whenever you get a late takedown, it's the way you win a round.
Yeah, Dominic
That's
Cruz.
how it goes. Moving on. No, but obviously I'm kidding. But I think there is a little bit of truth to that because, again, I think it was a close round where, for me, I really could have gone either way. But I thought the takedown into side control with those little extra shots at the very end, I think it made things a little easier for me to go that way. But it's still not a whole lot there. And realistically, if you had Masvidal a little more ahead, I could see how you'd keep him there.
Well, yeah, the leg kicks were good.
Yeah.
But I didn't think you had anything other than that.
Yeah. I felt comfortable giving a Burns score here, but I can rationalize a Masvidal score here as well. So not a crazy score. You and I are united on Burns, same as judges Dave Torelli and Chris Lee. It was, once again, Eric Colon out on a limb on this one.
It's all right, though. It's fine.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Except, maybe just make the, Florida Commission like you a little better. That way you don't have to get all the strawweight fights. 3 more fights for us, 1 round each. We'll start with the fight of the night, actually. A good fight. Kelvin Gastelum against Chris Curtis. Gastelum getting the win here, 29-28 twice and a 30-27. Our split round is round 3. What's happening?
A great round. Both guys had big moments. I think Curtis landed more. He would land in bunches. It felt like he was good body work, couple knees to the stomach when they would come close. Gastelum had some heavy lands up top. I just think he didn't put much together behind them. It was kind of single shots, but they were good shots. So I can maybe see a small argument, but I think it's more Curtis in a close but clear round.
I felt like I had Curtis in I think close but clear.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with that one. Yeah. I don't think it's a wrong, like a bad score to go the other way.
Yeah, like I said, there were some heavy shots.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's...
And I think that's whenever you get those heaviest shots landed for someone, especially when they're in the latter part of the round, you can almost get why. And I don't, the judge who gave the Gastelum round is local judge Michael Tate. And I don't want to imply that he's like a bad judge or like he's like an inexperienced judge because he did that, because obviously he's judged more fights, officially than we have. So there's that. Mm. But I do feel like that type of thing happening at the end of the round, it makes it a lot easier to go against what I think made much more sense personally, which was the heavier offense and the more frequent offense being landed by Chris Curtis throughout most of the round, or much of the round.
Really, to all targets.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the type of thing too. Is like how much are we weighing every element of that offense and that kind of thing. It's not a bad score, but yeah, I think I lean close but clear as well, going to Chris Curtis here as a 10-9, same as judges Eric Colonna and Derek Cleary. So yeah, Michael Tate, not a bad score, but maybe not the greatest of scores, at least in our collective opinion, I would think, right?
Tougher one to say.
Absolutely, this is a tough round. Like this is not like easy round scoring. I think right here, especially a judge like Michael Tate, I can imagine, cannot get the same number of assignments in a year as somebody like an Eric Colonna or Derek Cleary.
Yeah, a lot of high spots from both guys in that round.
Yeah, for sure. So. I did want to kind of back up real quick and then talk about round 2 in this fight, because as you recall, this was the round where Chris Curtis absorbs an accidental or incidental clash of heads, right? Mm-hmm. And it sends him down, and he's in a heap. He's clearly trying to recover, and he's more or less turtled up, and he's blocking shots that are coming from Gastelum, but more or less, but ultimately they get back to their feet. But outside of that particular element, like if you take that, especially just we'll call it an illegal strike, right? Because it wasn't an intentional thing, but we'll just call it, for the sake of simplicity, an illegal strike. Or the headbutt. We'll just call it a headbutt even. If you take that out and you even allow for the follow-up shots, right? Because everything thereafter is legal. There's nothing wrong with what Gastelum is doing following up with Curtis on the ground. If you include those attempts at trying to score there and land strikes there, I feel like there's a real compelling argument for Chris Curtis to win this round.
Okay.
I'm not saying he has to win this round, and I'm not saying that the fact that all 3 judges gave it to Gastelum means that they wouldn't have considered it to be a close enough round that maybe they could have gone Curtis. But I feel like when you take that headbutt out, man, I really feel like Chris Curtis should have gotten that round. That's just my opinion.
So now that brings me to this. In Vegas, they probably would have called replay.
In theory.
Right.
But they didn't really stop the fight or anything like that here either.
Right, but doesn't the replay official send a buzzer to, hey, possible illegal shot here?
I guess that could be true, yeah.
So, I don't know.
I believe that's the understanding of it, right?
Assuming Florida does not have replay. I thought Vegas was the only one.
Yeah, I don't think they do. I could be wrong. I didn't get the chance to verify that before we recorded this show, but I think you might be correct in that understanding. So, yeah, I mean, that is a disappointing result, I think. Who knows? Maybe despite that, all 3 judges still gave the round to Gastelum,
Yeah.
That's entirely possible. And I think it's defensible. So when I say I really think Chris Curtis should have won that round, I'm not saying it's an indictment of the judges that gave that round. Not Judge Colonna, not Cleary, not Tate. But man, I just look at that and I'm like, I think Curtis I think he did well early. I think he did well late. I liked his offense. I think he did a good job. But it was a close enough round. So
plus, who knows when you're that close? The referee didn't see it as a headbutt, and the 3 guys cage side didn't see it as a headbutt.
Sure. Yeah. No, I'm not faulting the judges. I actually really don't fault the judges at all. So, but it's just, I think it's unfortunate is really all it is when it comes down to it. But that was all I had about that fight. And we can move on to, again, we've got 2 more rounds here. Starting with Ignacio Bahamondes, got the win over Trey Ogden. Another unanimous decision, 2 30-27s and a 29-28. Our only split round is round 2. What's happening here?
I thought Bahamondes had a good round attacking all targets, especially the leg. A couple good ones upstairs, snapping the head around of Ogden. But Ogden does throw some good ones upstairs that got the attention of Bahamondes. Good reactions. I think
good lance of the body too, by the way.
Yeah, I really thought. I think was it a right hand?
The right straight to the body is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, that kind of woke at Bahamondes. He hit him early with a left hook to the face. But I think it was a Bahamondes round 10-9.
Yeah, I had it as a Bahamondes round. But I do think it got competitive here because for whatever reason, there were times where we just weren't seeing Bahamondes really like land as well. I think he kind of disappeared at like little moments in the fight, and that kind of allowed Ogden to, even with his kind of single shot punches here and there, I think it allowed him to get back into it a little bit more. So I could see why Derek Cleary ended up going for Ogden here, but I'm with you. I'm with the majority, which included local judge Troy Winkapaw and non-local judge Sal D'Amato. And but I mean, it didn't really matter. Bahamondes clearly won that fight. And we move on to our final round here. And this was a round that really didn't matter to the degree that Christian Rodriguez got the third round victory over Raul Rosas Jr. A big upset, by the way, over the teenage wunderkind, right? Wunderkind.
Kind of like more so of a manufactured upset.
I suppose that's at least partly true.
Yeah.
And as I pointed out, that why was anybody counting out a Christian on Easter weekend? That doesn't make any sense.
It's true. They tend to rise to the occasion.
Oh, wow. You way tops me. Good job, sir. Yeah, Christian Rodriguez. There we go. Getting the win. 29-28 twice and a 29-27. So we're only talking about the degree to which Rodriguez was able to defeat Raul Rosas Jr. And he'd already locked up the fight by winning the round. But yeah, I mean, is this an 8 or a 9? Let's talk about why.
Well, Rodriguez lands a couple shots to the feet. Rosas shoots desperately, gets his back taken, full body triangle. Couple choke attempts, nothing close. Rodriguez is landing some heavy shots, I thought. They're just kind of intermittently, though. He's outclassing him in the transitions. He's keeping the dominant positions. Good elbows, good punches. I think there's 2 Ds there. I think you got damage. I think you got dominance. So I'm 10-8.
Yeah, I am too. But again, I think you actually had an easier time getting to the 8th than I did. I was actually very, very, very borderline. But the fact that there's 2 Ds there is more or less why. I didn't feel compelled to, but I ended up ultimately going that way as well. So I had the 8, just like you, just like Sal D'Amato. It was judges Chris Lee and Dave Torelli, though, that had the 9, which was the dominant score. But we didn't see it the same way. So what does that mean for Judge D'Amato?
Couchside override.
Maybe we should stop mailing Judge D'Amato all the couchside overrides each week. We should just save them up in one, like maybe monthly package or something like that.
Yeah, save on shipping.
He judges so frequently, it would save on shipping. And honestly, I'm just wasting so much money shipping these things because they never get there. And I don't understand why it never gets there.
Bad courier.
Evidently. It's probably Newman. Newman. But that is it. Again, we're not going to go over PFL. We're just going to kind of look at the finishes here. At least, kind of consider them anyway, which was UFC had 5 finishes. Actually, both PFL and UFC had 5 each. And all 5 were TKOs or KOs. No submissions. Just destroying the run that we'd had of a bunch of submissions. It was just like everything came back down to earth. Balance it out.
Disappointing turn of events.
The force has found its balance once again. The dark side. Which side is the submission side? Are they the light side or the dark side of the force?
Well, they're dark side now.
No. But like, are they the good or the evil?
Oh no, they're the evil side.
Subs of the evil side?
Yeah. No one loves grappling at all. They hate him. Everyone hates grappling.
That's true.
It's
a good point.
Stupid.
But anyway, in UFC there were 2 first round finishes, whereas in PFL there were 3. And really should have been a lot more considering it was a lot of heavyweights at PFL. So not the best job. Heavyweights in PFL. Maybe get a few more this next time. Do you have a favorite finish among these 10?
I did.
Wow. Don't tell me though. We should move on.
I liked Steve Garcia's win over Shailin Nordebeki.
Nordebeki, I believe.
Yeah, something like that. Body shot KO. I thought it was pretty awesome.
That was. Body shot KOs are always fascinating.
It was like a double whammy because he gets hit with a front kick to the gut, and you're like, oh boy, and like immediately right after was the uppercut to it, and it's like, oh, that's it. Body shut down. Fetal position.
No one comes back from a body shot in MMA. Like scientifically, they went over it at the ABC conference last year. One of the ringside doctors did. And they were saying that like the nature of, a shot to the liver or a shot to the solar plexus as well, you just can't recover in a reasonable amount of time to be able to stand up. I think he'd said that the only boxer that he was aware of who'd actually come back to continue fighting from a body shot was in boxing, and it was Arturo Gatti.
Arturo Gatti was right. Yeah,
that's the only one. Now maybe there are others that
What about
you're just not
Scott
aware
Smith?
of, but that's easily the highest profile one.
Scott Smith.
Which
over
fight?
Pete Sell.
Was that a liver shot?
He's like, ooh, and then he cracks him.
But was he playing possum?
He might have been pulling a
Israel Adesanya years before.
not in Izzy. He might have been pulling a can't think of his name.
Possum.
Ankalaev beat him twice.
Ankalaev. Jan Kutelaba.
Yeah, Kutelaba. Yeah.
Yeah. He was giving the playbook to
Yeah.
Kutelaba, who studied it in full. Yeah, a good body shot. You can't argue with it. No one in MMA will come back from those. It just doesn't work.
Mm.
I don't think so.
And yours?
I feel like sometimes it's cheating to pick the obvious one. But like you gotta sometimes just pick the obvious one. It's got to be Adesanya finally getting past Alex Pereira. It was just the way he crumpled Pereira. It felt like it was the back the shot, like kind of the temple, like the side of the head kind of thing. That was the one that really crumpled him down. Just rattled the brain.
Yeah. The first one when he gets shot back.
Yeah, that obviously started.
It's like, get off of me, and then it's like, I'm gonna hit you again.
Mm-hmm. And then he fell like a sack of potatoes.
And then he hammer fisted him from hell.
Yeah.
I was like,
I didn't think it was excessive in the same way as like a Dan Henderson and Michael Bisping.
And Rampage Jackson.
Yeah.
Over Vanderlei. I think he got 3 shots in after he was pushed off.
Actually, that's an apt comparison because I kind of forgot that they had all those fights before, and then now he gets the last one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's true. I forgot about that. But yeah, that's my favorite finish. That might be Clubhouse leader for knockout of the year.
No.
What is? I'm not thinking that clearly.
I have.
Right now. It's late at night.
It was Basharat, the flying knee over Terrence McKinney.
Oh, that was a good
that
one.
is.
No, you're right. That was flashier, but this one.
I mean, the stakes were bigger on this one.
The stakes of it. I don't know, man. I feel like when it's knockout of the year, sometimes you got to give a little bit to that, unless it's something wild. I don't know. There's different schools of thought, of course. So I don't know. Is there a wrong answer? Javed Basharat?
Yeah.
I think it's who you're talking about.
Yeah. Let me just make sure.
All right, you can make sure. This was a different fighter, and then it was not Javed Basharat because that would be a different.
Okay. No. Ishmael Bonfarim.
Oh, okay.
That's it.
Bonfim.
Bonfim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. Yes. Good call. We should at least get the name right if you're going to shout.
We should, yeah.
That's fair. But it is very late. So, but that is it for this past weekend. We're already done with UFC 287. We can move on to, PFL first. I mean, there is the third leg of the PFL season. They'll take their break after this one for like roughly a month, I think.
Yeah. One I am interested in.
It. Yeah, this is much more interesting, I think. Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time, main cards start. Prelims are a couple hours earlier. But lightweights and welterweights. I think a lightweight is the showcase weight class in PFL. I think they have the most talent there. It's the most, typically you go a little lower and move into the middleweight classes. It's usually a little bit more interesting, right? And I count lightweight as a middleweight class in MMA because it's a lot closer to the middle than the end now. We go all the way down to flyweight in men. But it's headlined by, I think, genuinely one of the most interesting matchups they can make in PFL period right now, which is Olivier Aubin Mercier against Shane Burgos, who's coming up from 45.
I don't know if this is the final, how Tapology has the card.
Okay.
But they have that as a prelim.
It's not.
Okay.
It's the main.
Okay.
Don't worry about it.
Just making sure.
Don't worry about it.
I'm kind of worried about it.
You shouldn't.
Okay.
I am actually I'm supposed to be speaking with Mr. Burgos today, to maybe Monday. So we'll talk about that.
Okay.
This fight against OAM, who won the championship last year, of course, and Burgos was a very high profile acquisition from the UFC in free agency. Who's, coming off a win, he was kind of riding a lot of momentum. This is a very unique signing for PFL because he is not. No one would say Shane Burgos is a superstar. Start with that, but also he is young enough and let's say more on the come up than on the come down. And that's very rare for their acquisitions from the UFC. So it's a big deal. It's interesting. Curious to see how he'll do, especially at a new weight class.
Is this the first time he's fought at lightweight?
In his career, I don't know that.
Okay.
But he didn't fight. I don't believe he fought at lightweight in the UFC. I think he was strictly a 45er.
I think he was always 45er.
But I like this weight for him. He cuts a lot of weight, I think, to get to 45 and to do it 4 times in a year sounds really harsh. So I'm glad he's going to do the 55.
There's a chance I saw Shane Burgos at a CFFC fight. I just saw
There's
that
probably a really good chance of it. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't wonder if I was there for it. He fought Bill Algeo, beat him by submission. I don't know. I might have been there.
Yeah, it's a decent
Possible.
chance. Sure.
I kind of like him a lot more now that I realize this.
You do love your CFFC alums. Oh my God.
Yeah, let's go Shane.
You know what I'm going to do next
But
time?
I love Albin Mercier.
Next time you're complaining about a fighter, I'm going to be like, I think they fought for the CFFC title once, and just to see if you'll kind of change your tune a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to throw it in there one day. But yeah, so I like this fight. I think it's a genuinely interesting fight. I think it's easily the most interesting fight PFL has put on for this leg of their season. So I like that fight. Sadabu C is the welterweight champion, the defending welterweight champion, going against Jara Al-Salawi. He's also still at welterweight.
Good at what he does.
Sadabu C, yeah, he's fine at what he does, but yeah, he is not appointment viewing by any stretch. Yeah. So, we're just highlighting it here. But yeah, I can't say I'm very much looking forward to it. This is a Nevada card still, so these will be Nevada judges. I expect high quality judging, which we hadn't always gotten in PFL, so I'm glad that has been rectified here. I don't know where the second leg's going to be yet, though, so I'm not sure if it's going to end up being in Georgia.
I think it's Georgia.
No, that's unfortunate, but again, maybe Derek Cleary can clone himself, and we can have 3 Derek Clearys around the cage. I'd feel much better with that. So make that happen. We're bringing some outside judging. How about that? I did like a couple other fights though at lightweight. It's really, again, it's not just them. There's some interesting fighters here. Natan Schultz, former 2-time champion of PFL, going against Stevie Ray, the runner-up of last year, who had, for my money, the submission of the year in his modified twister. I thought that was incredible. Also, I don't know if you saw this, Stevie Ray, his daughter, they were doing the GoFundMe for his daughter who needed a brain operation. And they were able to raise the funds very quickly. So I wish his daughter all the best in her journey to brain health.
Yeah,
and for the family as well. Beyond that, I hope he brings the violence against Natan Schultz and we have a good time.
Yeah, that's a good fight. Natan Schultz, that was one that was driving me nuts. I was like, why is he not leaving half guard to finish Jeremy Stevens? What is going on?
I don't remember
here?
that fight in particular.
Like, what are we doing? But he did finish it, and it's like, all right, I'll shut up.
Shut your mouth. Yeah, Clay Collard is the other fighter I was very much interested in, again, because I think this guy got kind of wronged. I think he should have been in the playoff field, and he got on the wrong end of a decision last year. I believe Alex Martinez got the win there. He returns in this. I didn't put him as another fight to watch, but yeah, Manfio, former champion too. But we'll see how many times Alex Martinez can get some friendly judging. But I don't think it will go that way because we're in Nevada. I think we'll get the right man will win. I feel more confident in that than I did in other places. But Clay Collard, again, he's back. He's fighting Yamato Nishikawa. I don't know much about Nishikawa here, but I do think Clay Collard is a pretty talented lightweight. So I'm curious to see how he would do in the Clay Collard versus Shane Burgos would be a fun fight. I hope we get that at some point in some way.
Now, there's a tournament fight for Burgos and Mercier.
These are all part of the season.
All season.
It's not the tournament. It's the regular season.
The regular season points, fight. Yeah, my bad.
Yeah. Nah. Yeah. Got to get the terminology right. PFL is the only MMA league with a regular season playoff and championship. Did you know that?
Yeah, because they tell me that.
Oh yeah, they put a Chiron up every week of every event that they've ever had. I forgot about that.
Oh, the welterweight runner-up last year is on this fight too. On this card too. Delano Taylor.
Yes, that's right. I forgot about him. He was the one that kind of came out of nowhere and surprised Ray Cooper III, who I don't believe is part of this field. Okay. I actually don't know what happened to Ray Cooper III. I meant to follow up on that, and I didn't do that.
Okay.
Yeah. I got nothing for you. I'm sorry. But over the next day, of course, we have UFC is back in the fight night capacity. This one in Kansas City. Go to the Midwest.
KC.
Now, Kansas City is Kansas City, Missouri, sir. Not Kansas. We don't have open scoring as an option. And the UFC probably wouldn't exercise that option.
They wouldn't take it anyway.
Yeah. So just to make sure we're clear on
They probably looked at it. They're like, you know what? We're going to go to Kansas City. Let's see which one doesn't have open scoring, and we'll go to that one.
That's exactly what they said. Yeah. Mark Ratner was going through the choices with Dana and was like, what do you think? I don't know how they do that, but yeah, so 8:30 p.m. Eastern time for this main card start. I love the headliner. I think you do too. Max Holloway and Arnold Allen.
Fantastic fight.
It doesn't get more high level for a fight night main event than this. It just doesn't. So you got to really appreciate it when you get it. I'm very excited for this fight. Glad we're going to get 5 rounds of the violence from it. I have no idea who's going to win. I mean, in theory, logic would say, yeah, Max Holloway doesn't lose to anyone who's not Alexander Volkanovski at 145 pounds, but Arnold Allen's pretty damn good.
Arnold Allen is very good.
So I like this fight. I'm looking forward to it. I don't know anything about the local judges in Missouri, to be perfectly honest, but I'm hopeful that they bring in enough traveling judges to make that not too much of a problem to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Florida judges, I want to say, I think the Florida judges did a solid job.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Good job.
They've had good experience with high level. I
tend to
MMA
think Florida does
there.
a decent job with their local guys.
I think they bring in solid judges, and I think they deploy their judges especially in a way that I think other states should emulate, which is they'll put 2 of the traveling judges they bring in and mix in a local judge at almost every fight, and they'll structure it all that way. So everyone gets a little bit of experience. They get to kind of pick the brains of these more experienced officials, but also you're increasing the odds that the right person wins by bringing in 2 judges of more experience to make sure that they're adjudicating as well. And then for the co-main and the main, they just do traveling judges. Yeah. Fights of, in theory, more import.
Yeah.
And I like that. I think that's great. I think more states should emulate that. Texas. Sorry. I apologize about that. Can we edit that out? Anyway, I do like a few other fights, though. I like Edson Barboza, Billy Quarantillo. I think that's a fantastic fight.
That should be fun.
That has violence written all over it at 145 pounds as well. Pedro Munoz and Chris Gutierrez. That's going to be a great time. I imagine somebody's leg is going to get kicked off. Just fall off. It'll just fall off and be replaced by a peg. Yeah. You don't like this guy. I'm sorry, but Brandon Royval is fighting Mateus Nicolau.
No, I'm looking at the card right now, and I'm upset with the placement where this fight is.
I knew you'd say this.
Meanwhile, we got Iwan Kutelaba and Tanner Bozer on the main card.
Which is like a glorified heavyweight fight, but it's actually 205.
Let's just get rid of it. I mean, I got no problem with Dustin Jacoby and Azamat Murzakanov. That should be actually pretty fun, I think.
Jacoby's interesting.
So that's a fun fight there. Clay Guida on the main card versus Rafa Garcia. Raw Dog Royval belongs on the main card against Matush Nicolau here. This is basically 2 top 5 guys.
Yeah,
stuck on the prelims.
This is an elite level flyweight fight, and for whatever reason, UFC would rather just bury it on the prelims. Which, I mean, granted, I feel like when you're talking about the prelims of a fight night card, the way they're structured these days, it's almost like indistinguishable because I feel like most people are watching. Like you're kind of in for penny and for pound anyway. They
don't even separate on ESPN Plus the prelims. It's just fight night, and you start it from fight 1 through fight 13.
Yeah, no, I do that too, and it's so glorious that I don't have to change anything.
I'm saying I think all fight nights do it that way. Unlike pay-per-views, pay-per-views have 3 different files you have to go into.
Yes. No, actually, there was just a prelims thing tonight.
Oh, only prelims?
Yeah,
okay.
I didn't have to change.
Oh, okay. All right, so they only 2 then.
Yeah.
All right.
We're getting closer.
What happened to that thing with Gronk?
I get why they would separate the main card of a pay-per-view, though. That makes sense. It's a different thing. You got to pay for that.
Well, yeah, you got to pay for it. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. What happened to the thing with Gronk?
What about Gronk? Who's he fighting?
Wasn't he doing like a Peyton Manning, Eli Manning thing on UFC pay-per-views, or was that just a one-off?
I don't even remember. I kind of remember that might have been a thing that existed, but yeah, I don't. It's gone. The only other fight I was really looking forward to on this card, which is to say there's a lot of them that I like, Jillian Robertson and Pereira Rodriguez. Jillian Robertson is always good for a submission threat.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm always down because when she gets it to the mat, she's not looking to lay and pray. She wants to choke you out or take your arm. And that's exactly what everybody should be doing. So I like that.
Yeah, there was...
And Pereira Rodriguez, I believe she's on the come up if I'm thinking of the right fighter here. But I just like the fight. I think it's a good fight.
Jillian's really good at grappling. She choked Rose out in a grappling match in a minute.
Well, she's pretty a lot bigger than Rose, too.
Well,
to be fair.
Neither's cutting, so yeah, I guess. That was
if neither's cutting, she's bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I want Zach Cummings and Ed Herman. I can't believe Ed Herman is still fighting, but I actually am a little bit intrigued by that fight.
I believe he's one of the few 40-year-old plus fighters on the roster still, yeah. He's one of the last. He's from Tough 3.
Well, he got the double finish, right? The low blow finish.
Was it Tough 3? He fought
Bisping, Ed Herman
right?
was on the Bisping season.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
What was your question? I missed it.
Remember he had that double finish? Like he finished, both guys got a win because they thought it was a low blow, but it wasn't. It was a clean body shot.
Was that against Mike Slow Rodriguez?
I think yeah, that sounds familiar.
Yeah.
That was.
I vaguely remember it. It's amazing how much of these things like we talk about on the show, and then a couple years later, we're like, "Oh, did that happen?"
Or did he get finished twice in that fight?
Maybe that was what it was.
And then he got a Kimura. I think they each won.
Yeah, that's
like,
right. So
It wasn't like
trying to piece it
Rodriguez.
together. We don't have to spend time on this. We're going to wrap it up, but I want to say he like sort of lost, and then they let it keep going, and he came back and won or something. I don't know. We'd have to verify.
Whatever.
Just go back to that episode of the show. Enjoy it.
Or just watch that fight.
Yeah, do that too. But listen to our show. And subscribe on YouTube.
All right, we'll be back again next Monday on YouTube for Scott.
And other platforms.
And
as well.
everywhere else, too.
Yeah. Same places you always heard us. Just, go over to YouTube. Just hit subscribe. Help us out. And then play the episode there, too, because that also helps our algorithm.
Yeah, so I'm thinking we'll probably have more PFL this upcoming show.
Yeah, I think we'll balance it a lot better, unless it's just, oh my goodness, if there's like 20 rounds, it ain't happening. But we'll figure it out.
All right, thanks for listening.
Take care, everybody.